In the early 20th century, three German psychologists, Max Wertheimer, Wolfgang Kohler, and Kurt Kafka, proposed new principles for explaining perception called Gestalt principle. According to these psychologists, the process of perception does not involve perceiving an array of stimuli as an object, but it involves our tendency to seek a form or a pattern in it. The literal meaning of the word gestalt is form or configuration. The basic premise of gestalt psychology is that whole is different from the sum of its part. Based on this basic premise, gestalt psychologists propose a number of principles or laws to explain the process of perceptual organization, that is, how we perceive smaller units of stimuli as a whole having a particular pattern. In the following slides, let us discuss some important gestalt laws of perceptual organization. But before doing so, can you find 13 faces in the following picture? The next is a figure-ground relationship. This principle states that we have a tendency to segregate our world in the form of figure and ground. Figure is that part of stimuli which has our focus of the visual field, whereas the ground is background. The figure in front of you has a definite shape and is better remembered, whereas background is shapeless and has no limits. What do you see in this figure? Two people or two pieces of chess. When you focus on people, chess pieces disappear in the background, and when you focus on chess pieces, people become the background. That's figure-ground relationship. Law of proximity. In order to perceive stimuli meaningful, stimuli which are closer to each other are perceived by us belonging to one group. Due to this reason, you tend to see the image on your screen, which is a lot of circles, as cluster or group rather than individual circles. Due to this reason, you tend to see the image on your screen, which is a lot of circles, as a cluster or group rather than individual circles. Our brain tends to group large elements as one to make us interpret it more easily. Did you notice a lot of small circles first or a big square first? It's hard to determine which was comprehended by your brain first. Law of similarity. This principle states that stimuli similar to each other are grouped together. For instance, in this figure, we tend to group circles based on its color. In real life also, we use this principle extensively. For example, during a cricket match, we tend to group players based on the color of their jersey. Law of continuity or good continuation. It refers to our tendency to perceive figures in continuation rather than parts. This principle is exhibited more in the perception of line. The figure in front of you is generally perceived by you as a line instead of separate small dots. Law of closure. Following its name, this law should not be confused with the law of proximity. This law states that we have a tendency to perceive stimuli as closed shapes even when some part of it is missing. Law of common region, common fate. This principle states that stimuli moving in similar directions are perceived as belonging to the same group. Law of good form or Pragness. The word Pragness is a German in origin, meaning good figure. This principle is also called as law of good figure. According to this principle, out of all possible ways of grouping a stimuli, we tend to group stimuli in the simplest and stable form. Thus, we can say that simpler forms are more perceived by us. For example, instead of perceiving this figure in front of you as consisting of 5 circles, you tend to perceive it as the symbol of Olympics. So you can take a look of this Gestalt principle slide. You can pause and read it, have a closer look.